In a world of magic and mystery, one elf woman fights crime and the forces of evil in her own unconventional way. These are The Misadventures of Agnetha Deveaux. Episode 8, Utter Philth. Written by Royce Pentaghast and Sarah Frass. The city of Varajun was in turmoil, plagued by disasters from magic fires to escaped murderers, all traced back to the actions of a demon, a corrupted spirit who sought to wreak havoc on the world he left behind. In battle with this entity, Agnetha had acquired a spell that could defeat him. While awaiting their next confrontation, she had been preparing herself.
I've been teaching myself some new spells. They're all a bit outside my school of magic, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. Got myself a weapon summoning spell, so I can do a sword, an axe, or a shield, which could come in handy. I've also learnt a few basic hexes. These won't do much damage, but they should be enough of a distraction as I get the incantation working.
So, what have you got?
I've got one spell that puts an ever-present smell of cat poo in the nostrils. I've got one that reverses your coordination, and one that makes a person sing everything they say.
So how does that one work?
Just like that.
Oh my gosh.
Russ, could you take that out the front too? Thanks.
Anyway, gotta go. I figured one way I can override this ruling is to bring it to the PM's attention. It's just getting to it, it's the issue.
Best of luck.
If you try that singing spell on me, I'm buying you out of this place.
Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. I got to head off myself. New spellbook I ordered should be in for pickup.
Heading out the door, box of books under her arm, she ran into a young man in a checkered coat, striding carelessly down the path.
Oi! Why don't you watch where you're going?
Why don't you watch where you're going?
Oh, you want to go then, do you?
Yeah, you gonna do something, big man?
You better watch yourself.
Agnetha, stop!
What?
Russ, the tavern's occasional musical entertainer and longtime friend of Charlotte, grabbed her by the arm and pulled her away from the man.
Don't you know who that is?
Nah, should I?
That's Max Phillips, son of Mitch Phillips, the gangster.
No idea who that is. How do you know gangsters?
Well, everyone does. Well, everyone in the square, I mean.
What do you mean?
Well, me and a few people sort of do some, people watching. Listening in to those on the square talk about their lives, sometimes see it play out before us.
You're like some voyeur.
It's nothing like that.
Well, what is it?
Over there's the Dyers. They're the current landlords of the Queen L pub on the other side of the square. They moved in about 5 years ago, have 3 kids, all moved away. Though, the son just came back from a trip abroad, looking a bit different to how he did before. Much like Max does, now I think about it.
Right.
That there's Adam Sharp. He owns most of the business on that side of the square. He just sold the pub back to the Dyers after he disappeared for a stint as a homeless man.
What?
That's Faye McCready, market trader. Just started dating a new man after her engagement was broken off. But I think he's up to something. And that, the large bald guy, is Mitch Phillips, owner of the Archer's Carriage Repair Shop just around the corner. Legitimate businessman, though everyone knows he's a criminal.
And people are just fine with this?
Pretty much.
What? Has he got something over everyone? Is he offering protection on people?
No.
Then how's a gangster able to walk down a Varadun street in broad daylight? Like he owns the place and no one cares?
I don't know exactly. But he is fun to watch at least.
Russ left her there, standing on the edge of the square, deep in thought. She looked around at the people he'd pointed out. The market trader whose boyfriend had a murderous glare on his face the second she looked away. The woman reconciling with her supposed long-lost father after he got drunk and missed their lunch the day before. A spat between sisters as one insisted she would stay by her man despite his arrest. This is what people did, what Russ did, listen in on people's lives. Not that it mattered. The real problem here was Mitch Phillips, a criminal trudging about the square in full view of everyone. Agnetha had knowledge of the criminal underworld, and never had she seen something so brazen. It rubbed her the wrong way. She had to put a stop to it. Returning to the Vestment Silver Tavern to drop off her box of spellbooks, she headed across the square to the Archer's carriage shop, built under the train bridge.
Oh, g'day. Can I help you with anything?
No, I'm good. Just having a look round.
No problem. Give me a shout if you need anything. Are you sure I can't help you?
Nah, just having a look.
I mean, if you're waiting for the boss or something. I should be back in here soon. Oh, here he is.
Jamie, you're not going to believe what they're charging for sprockets net. What are you doing here?
I'm just having a look.
That's the third time she said that now.
Yup, and I'm all done.
Away she walked, leaving the two men dumbfounded, but with a great sense of unease. Later on, Max met with his father, Mitch, in the square's cafe.
You weren't back from Hodgetts yet? I'm starting to think that Corrick's getting cold feet.
Nah, I ain't. Listen, Dad, I think we got a problem here. Some elf woman sniffing around the Archers earlier, and I bumped into her on the street.
Eh? What? Elf woman?
Yeah, she's
What?
well, describing her, she's black.
Ah, right. Face tattoos?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know her. Private investigator.
private investigator. Dad, what's she doing around our gaff then? Shouldn't we do something?
Hey, what do you think then?
Well, maybe, I don't know, take her out.
What are you thinking in that head of yours? Nah, too much. Give her a scare. She should get the message then, if she's causing any trouble.
That night, tasked with taking rubbish to the bins out the back of the tavern, Agnetha was not her usually attentive self. It was maybe this, and her attackers knowing the danger she posed, that allowed his stealth attack to work in the first place. There was a smash of glass at her feet, and as she turned to face it, her vision was blurred by a yellowish green, and her lungs filled with the smell of knockout gas. She stumbled, angry at herself for not hearing the warnings, and catching sight of her attacker, watching from the shadows before she passed out. She awoke a while later in a dark space, her limbs folded in on herself and unable to stretch out in the confined area. Clicking her fingers to light a magical flame, she realized she was inside a leather trunk. Not the first time she'd found herself in one, although those times were often more willingly. She kicked out as the lid flew off, and she slowly unfurled her long limbs from the trunk, finding herself in the sodden riverbed of the Varadun docks, amidst piles of seaweed. Agnetha stood to look around, seeing a young dock worker standing nearby, clutching his chest in relief.
Are you alright there?
Oh, I think so. Bit stiff.
I was worried I was going to find a dead body in there. Some passerby called it in.
No dead body. Not yet, anyway.
Sorry?
Nothing.
Hauling the trunk back to the square, she spotted Max Phillips, sat out in front of the cafe, raising his cup of coffee and giving a sly nod when he saw her. Agnetha stormed into the Vestment Silver, past the concerned Charlotte, up the stairs to the second floor where the room was. She grabbed the dagger from the mantelpiece and ran at the wall opposite, stabbing the blade repeatedly out of frustration and letting out an angry scream. Leaving the dagger in the wall, she turned to lean on a nearby desk, seething with rage. A plot for retaliation that had been brewing since she emerged from the river, coming to a boil. She watched Max from her window go about his business for the next few hours, before she headed out herself to hire a horse-drawn wagon, buy a padlock, and place them and the trunk in the alley behind the vestment. The day turned into night, the streets quietened, and Max headed to the pub on the other side of the square. How long he'd been there for she didn't know. Agnetha made her way across the square, peering through the window to see him there in high spirits. She headed back, bringing the wagon around, and sat in waiting. It was late before he left, not as sloshed as one would think having spent hours in a pub, and strode across the square to his house. Agnetha started after him, a coin in hand, a plank of wood in the other. It was an old trick, but it usually worked. Tossing a coin to a darkened part of the street, Max's attention drawn to it, she came up behind him and cracked the plank over his head. He fell, dazed, as she stood over him.
Oh, Max, if you really want to scare someone, You gotta do it properly.
Hey, you seen Max about?
Nah, I ain't seen him since last night. You don't think he's got himself in trouble, has he?
Of course he has. It's what he does.
I know you having problems with Adidas.
You think they have something to do with this?
No, I was asking if that's what you were thinking.
Doesn't seem their style. I'll go check the hospital and see if something's happened to him.
Mitch, you can check if you want. I'll shut the shop. You take it easy. Go get yourself a tea or something down the cab.
Yeah, good idea. You're a good one, Jamie. I'll do that.
Mitch walked around the corner to the cafe, ordering himself a drink and standing by the counter while waiting. As the woman beside him took her order and newspaper, Mitch spotted something resting on the counter. His son's ring, one he'd bought him years before, that never left his person. The world stood still as Mitch reached out for it. Why was this ring here? Had Max left it? Had someone else? What had his son done for that to happen? Who would have reason to strike at them? That's when he remembered. That elf woman, Agnetha. Grasping the ring in his fist, Mitch headed out the door, leaving his coffee behind, and started for the vestment silver, blood boiling. His bald head turning red. He was going to storm in there and give that Agnetha Deveaux...
Oi, oi! Mitch, innit? I don't think we've met before.
Agnetha, private investigator. I know you.
I gotta say, never been to that cafe before now, but they make a good drink. Goes well with the morning paper.
What have you done with him?
Who?
You know who.
Nah, we ain't doing that. Say what you mean.
Max, my boy. What did you do to him? Why were you sniffling around my gaff?
I was just having a look. I told him that. Why'd you lock me in a trunk and throw me in the river? Not the way you usually treat customers, is it?
I didn't know he did that. Now, where is he?
I don't know. Safe, I imagine. Locked up, perhaps. Well, he will be if he's going to be chucking people in boxes. It is fun talking vaguely, isn't it? I can see why you do it.
If you've hurt him...
Agnetha shrugged and walked back to the vestment.
There's a letter here for you, from Mengarda.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
How are you finding that new spell book of yours?
A tricky read. A lot of it barely makes sense to me.
How does one know they can do magic anyway? Like, do you take a test? Is there a way to find out?
It depends, really. Some people, you get flickers of magic coming through when they're kids. Some cast full spells, or can see through to the spirit world. Everyone has a bit of magic in them. Some more than others.
Imagine that, going your entire life, that potential inside you, and never realising it. It's kind of like art.
Yeah?
Whether it's dancing, or singing, or painting, or sculpting, some people take to it right away. Others have to work hard for it. They have to practice for years and years to get good. But they can be good. A lot of people get cut off before they get that chance. Some never get a chance at all.
Yeah, I suppose that is right.
Mostly, I'm still bitter I was told I couldn't sing. Anyone can sing.
True. It's just like society demands perfection.
You're not talking about a singing spell again, are you?
Wasted potential, that's the topic. But I can bring out that spell again if you want. It's interesting, Charlotte, because I'd sort of wondered about the demons so...
What the fuck?
What was that? A brick? Through my window? Really?
Hang on, I can trace you through that. Oh, I see. You want to play rough, do you?
Who are you talking about?
Sorry, Charlotte, I'll pay for your new window out of Mitch Phillips' pocket.
Agnetha, wait, what are you doing?
I'm going to hunt down the person who threw a brick through Charlotte's window, interrupting quite a nice conversation, I might add, and make them face the consequences of their actions. Hey, Russ.
What's going on here?
Someone threw a brick through the tavern window.
One of Mitch Phillips' lot.
Why was one of Mitch Phillips' guys throwing bricks through the window?
I don't know. Someone else Agnetha has inevitably annoyed.
Oh, what do you mean, inevitably?
And yet, what the heck? You don't interfere with Mitch Phillips or anyone on the square. It ruins the narrative.
I'm sorry, what?
When they go throwing bricks through Charlotte's windows, I'll interfere with whomever I please.
Oh, wait, this is the thing you told me about, the people watching thing.
Yeah, good bit of fun.
Bit weird.
All right, dudes.
It looks like myself he has found us.
Agnetha readied herself for a fight as the thugs launched forwards. The first armed with a knife she easily knocked free, before finishing the other two off with a punch to the groin, then ducking as the third thug swung her way and ended up clobbering the second. The leader stepped forward with an axe in hand. He and Agnetha struggled over it as she floored him with a knee between the legs.
Oi, be careful with that. You could take someone's arm off.
She tossed the axe out of reach before she heard the first thug pick himself up, reaching for the knife.
Oi, stay down. I'm trying to have a chat with your boss over here. Now, why did you throw this brick through my window?
You know why? You've been messing with the Phillips business.
Oh my god. Rule number 1, don't grass on your boss. Don't you know anything? Although, thank you. Also, it saves me from interrogating you.
Agnetha looked down, the knife sticking out of her right cheek, thrown from across the alley by the first thug. She pulled it out and stormed over to him.
Okay, you've just lost the right to live.
Knocking him and his buddies out, Agnetha hogtied and hauled them back to the square. There they were discovered the following morning tied to a lamppost, a note pinned to the leader's chest.
Mitch Phillips's hired thugs? Now that is interesting.
What seems to be the problem, Inspector Slater?
Don't suppose you know what this is about, Mitch?
I can't say I do.
Well, I suppose this is pretty normal for you then, being accused of crimes you have nothing to do with.
I'll tell you what, that elf detective over the road there, that Agnetha Deveaux, she's something to do with this.
I know Miss Deveaux. Pillar of the community she is, unlike you.
My son's been missing for 3 days, and she's behind it.
Is that so? I seem to remember your son, Max, goes missing rather often around here. Like early last year when you was having that money trouble. He shows up in a brand new suit before disappearing to Raylio for 15 months. I also remember you tying him nearly naked to a lamppost 3 years ago to try and toughen him up. Hard and criminally did become with a charge of public indecency, eh?
My son's missing, and that witch over there is responsible.
If we see Miss Deveaux doing a crime, we'll be sure to haul her in. As per a little agreement you and I have about your clandestine activities. Isn't that right, Mitch?
Hey, Mitch, the money in the safe is gone.
Oh, I think we know where your son has got to. Mystery solved.
This here, his ring. Max's ring was left on the cafe counter. He's never without it.
We all get careless from time to time. Can't say how many times I've left home without either my badge, helmet or mace. Sometimes all 3.
That elf woman, she left this on the counter for me to find, and she's responsible.
And have you proof? We can't do anything off rumours and speculation. Otherwise you'd have been locked up a long time ago. Speaking of, this lot here should be untied from this pole and taken in. I know these lot are wrong uns. People like them, in a nice place like this, you wouldn't have seen that kind of thing here 10 years ago. See that tavern over there, the Vestament Silver has had the glaziers over. Bit of a shame their window got smashed up. But they're installing some of that enchanted glass. Shatterproof, expensive. Anyway, stay out of trouble, Mitch.
Later that day, more drama was stirring on the square.
Shona, where have you been?
Leo, I was just down the markets.
Don't lie to me! You're always lying to me.
Let go of my arm.
Tell me where you were. Right now.
Settle down, Leo.
What are you doing? Why did you hit my boyfriend?
Sorry. Agnetha Deveaux, investigator, monster slayer, all in one, whatever you need. Here's my ID.
Yeah, I know you, but that doesn't answer my question.
Crazy elf bitch.
Let me show you this. This is Leo Ennelsbridge, a strange son of Matthew Ennelsbridge, the man who kidnapped you and held you hostage 13 years ago. I'm sorry to remind you of that, but Leo has got it in his sick little head that you were telling lies about his scumbag of a dad and was getting close to you to teach you a lesson.
He was not a scumbag. She lied about him.
Is this true?
And see here, he's got a copy of your house keys. He's been living in your cellar for weeks spying on you.
You pervert!
Agnetha, what are you doing?
Ah, Russ, how do you do? While this guy getting the stuffing kicked out of him is the worst kind of voyeur, turns out keeping an eye and an ear out for people does have its benefits. Means you can help out where needed.
But I was watching that. I didn't know it was going to play out like that.
Wait, you were watching me?
Russ is a part of a neighbourhood watch, you might say. Lets me know if something's amiss. We need more guys like him. Those willing to stand up to bullies who abuse their power over women. Or anyone, really.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, he's not a weirdo who watches people and their drama for fun. Imagine that.
Okay, I understand I was wrong. You can stop now.
That evening, over by the Parliament House, Turmell was finishing his day and about to head home before he saw Agnetha parked out front upon a horse-drawn wagon.
Excuse me, miss, could you please move your vehicle up to the lay-by in a hasty fashion?
Just waiting for a mate.
Hello?
Oi, fancy a ride?
You've got a cart.
Yeah, I was doing some moving.
Excuse me, may you proceed to depart the area in your vehicle?
Yes, I will now, thank you. I told you I was just waiting for a mate.
Where are we going?
Scenic route through the city, back to the square. Plus, when all in hazardous chemicals, it's best to take quieter roads.
What have you got? More embalming fluid? For some reason.
Nah, a crate of combustible vials. Fire bombs. Less conspicuous carrying them under a top on a wagon.
And yet why?
I have some work to do on the way home.
Dare I ask what it is?
I'm encouraging you to. I'll tell you when we get there. How was your day?
I was going all right until I found myself sitting atop a mobile weapon, thank you very much.
A few minutes later, on a quiet street, Agnetha pulled up next to a small rundown warehouse, disembarking the cart to open the doors.
This warehouse here, it's an old wool factory. Officially out of business for the last 24 years. But for the last 22 years, it's been a storage for carriages, carts, and other goods. All stolen by Mitch Phillips.
Wow, really?
Now, there's no one inside. I checked. Which means I can do this.
Reaching into the crate under the tarpaulin, she removed one of the glass firebombs, gave it a quick shake, and lobbed it through the open warehouse door. With a bright flash, the bomb ignited, and the warehouse was quickly engulfed in flame.
On to the next one. I'd use me fire magic, but that has tells. So using these grenades, well, anyone could throw those.
What are you doing? You've taken me on a crime spree.
Oh, relax, Turmell. It's only arson, not a real crime, like tax evasion.
Those were people's things you just burnt.
I made sure to check earlier. All the goods in that warehouse were stolen from the factories or shipping yards, written off as a loss, ready for Phillips to sell on. They weren't actually owned by anyone.
Who is Mitch Phillips, anyway?
He's a gangster who lives just across the square from where I live. A real proper criminal who deals in stolen goods, who hurts people for fun, who kills if needs be. And there he was, going for walks about the square, and no one cared at all. Not even Rozzers. I had to do something about it. You know me.
So you're doing crime, that's going to solve it, is it?
These people need to be taught a lesson from the only school they understand. You can't reason with them or get them the usual way, so you got to hit them where it hurts. There's people like Mitch Phillips in every walk of life. People who use their power against those most vulnerable. Whether it be throwing bricks through windows or spreading lies in the paper. Turning people against each other.
And yet, I understand you've got a lot of frustrations going on, but this is...
What? Crazy?
Well, no, but...
What's crazy is there's people like you who claim to stand up for people like me, but do nothing when the moment calls for it. All I was doing was taking some rubbish bins out, minding my own business, and some guy, some utter waste of skin, sneaks up on me, knocks me out, shoves me in a suitcase, and throws me in the river. I was lucky. Oh yes, look at me for surviving. Look at everyone who finds himself in a similar situation who makes it out alive. I don't imagine this is the first time Phillips has done this, and that he won't do it again, but I know it's the last time they ever will. They're used to walking all over people. They're not ready for when someone stands up and fights back.
The wagon came to a stop outside the arches as the two sat in silence, swallowing hard, Agnetha's words washing over him. Turmell spoke.
You're right. I can do something. And I will. For you, for everyone I know, and everyone I don't. Pass me one of those bombs. This is a symbolic gesture. The first blow in what I've been claiming to fight for years. No more standing by. No more turning a blind eye to weird stuff guys say. No more playing nice, except for when it's required. This is to fighting back. Do I shake it and throw?
Yeah, not too much.
Ha! Maybe I should have aimed for the window instead of the closed door.
Do you want another one?
Yeah, sure. Hang on, don't throw it at me.
There, good catch.
Ah! Well, now it's his criminal ventures taken care of. What are you going to do about this Phillips himself?
Well, I imagine the fire in there will take care of him too, so long as he's not slipped free of his ropes.
What?
Turmell, arson is one thing, but do you really think I'd make you an accessory to murder?
Well, I hope not.
To be fair, I was intending to set the fire myself, but you were having a moment, so I thought, well, best not interrupt you.
Did I just burn a man to death?
No, I'm kidding. The smoke inhalation will get him first. I'm kidding. I made sure Mitch and his son got arrested for some new evidence coming to light on some crimes they did.
Okay. Thank God.
At least I hope the Rosses got him out in time. Anyway, good night.
Well, shit.
The Misadventures of Agnetha Deveaux, starring
Liz Corrick as Agnetha.
Royce Pentaghast as Turmell.
Schuyler Boe as Charlotte.
Keith Wiggins as Mitch Phillips.
Michael Mengarda as Max Phillips.
Simon Ashton as Inspector Slater.
Bradley Donnelly as Russ and Leo.
Hayley and McCready as Shona.
Len Hannah, Jamie.
And Michael Mengarda as the narrator. Theme music composed by Matt Harris. Produced by City Park Radio 2022.